Alright, you are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So let's talk about wealth transfer. Let's look at what a wealth transfer from the poor middle class and even upper middle class to the top of the pyramid might look like. So usually you would start with some sort of bubble. Let's take property, for example. We'll use that as one. If you wanted to transfer wealth from the bottom to the top, what you would do is you would inflate a property bubble. There would be a narrative that goes around, property never goes down. The banks would start lending predominantly for property assets. They would start off with tight lending conditions and they would loosen them continuously until you get into the subprime category, where they just lend money to anyone willing to purchase a house. The banks make trillions, the managers make millions. Everyone is fucking ecstatic until the bubble bursts. Then what happens is people can't pay back their loans. They default on their mortgages, which causes contagion. People try to sell their house. They can't sell their house because everyone's trying to sell their house. Property prices tank. And even if you can sell your house, you're selling it for less than you fucking bought it for. You get foreclosed on. You go into default. Property goes into a death spiral and everyone is completely fucked. Not only do you lose your house, but you also lose your savings as well. The deposit you had to put down in the subprime category, it might not have been that much. They might have said, how much is in your bank account? $20. All right, we'll lend you fucking $2.5 million. Regardless of what it was, what deposit you had to make, it's gone, finished. So you got no house, no savings now, and you probably chewed up everything you had just to make the final payments before foreclosure. So you've got nothing, and then the banks go bankrupt as well. They have no money coming in because your money's not coming in, but these banks get classified as too big to fail, and the government comes in and bails them out. So the banks get paid on the way in, lending you the money, and then they also get bailed out on the way out. So your money, your tax gets given to the banks, and then you also assume the debt. The debt is nationalized, which means you're paying for the debt. It just gets added to the bill that you have to pay for in the end. The banks get all the money. They get paid on the way in to the mortgages, and they get bailed out on the way out. So they're completely fine. You, on the other hand, are completely fucked. What you get is no house, no savings, and a 15-year cultural war that diverts all your attention away from the banks and onto trannies, and a bigger division between left and right than it's ever existed to take the attention away from what just fucking happened. You also get the reinflation of the asset bubble because the money that the government gives to the banks, they use to reinflate the bubble to do it all again, which is coming soon. Anyway, that's one way to transfer wealth from the bottom of the pyramid to the top. Another hypothetical way you could transfer money from the bottom to the top is, let's say you needed to build out AI. Let's say you needed to do that, but the capital expenditure, the costs of building out AI are so astronomical that you can't really afford it. So how would you build it out? Well, what you could do is you could take the companies that are at the forefront of AI and, like the property bubble, inflate their stock price to insane numbers like 50 times earnings, 100 times earnings. You could do that so they become the dominant stocks in the S&P 500. But where do you get the money? Where do these companies get the money to inflate these stocks? Well, there's companies like BlackRock, for example, that can help, or Vanguard, or State Street, or Fidelity. These companies are what you call fund managers, asset managers. And we could just use BlackRock, for example. That's the biggest one. That has $14 trillion under management. Very powerful company. $14 trillion is a lot of money. But where's this money coming from? Where is the money coming from? Whose money are they managing? Oh, yeah, that's right. The bulk of the money they have under management are pension funds, 401k pension funds. So let's say between these companies, the best way to build out the AI infrastructure would be to create a giant AI narrative, inflate the stock prices of the big tech companies, let's say Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, soon to be ChatGPT, Anthropic, AIX, SpaceX, and then BlackRock uses the pension funds to drive up the stock price even more, while BlackRock also owns percentages of these companies and they're on the board of all of them, so they get paid on the way in. And if you know where I'm going with this through the last example, they're going to get paid on the way out as well. So BlackRock takes the pension funds, drives up the price of the AI companies. The AI companies build out the AI infrastructure 20 to 30 years ahead because the demand for AI is not there. But the build out needs to happen and they need the money for the build out. And whose money is better to take than your money? It's always your money. You got to remember that. They're always using your money. I'm telling you right now, when you're like, where did they get the money for that? It's your money. It's your money. So the pension money flows into the AI companies and it's a mechanism. There's a mechanism behind that. So there's the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the US, and it's called passive flow. It doesn't matter what price they are, these asset managers buy the S&P 500, and it's weighted to have the strongest ones more heavily weighted. So you would get like 15% Nvidia and then 10% fucking Meta, and it's weighted like that. But pension funds just pay into this. But through like BlackRock, who also own the ETF for the fucking S&P 500. So they get paid everywhere. It doesn't even matter if the stock prices go up to them. So they passively, which just means there's an allocation of money, these pension funds buy automatically of the S&P 500, which is heavily weighted to the AI, which pushes the AI stocks up even further. But it's all you need to know is it's your pension funds. So the AI gets built out, and for a period, while the bubble is at super max proportions, everyone is happy. The pension funds are firing because they're heavily weighted the AI stocks. The AI are fired up because they're getting their build out. They have heaps of capital. BlackRock and the fund managers are happy because they're taking bits from everywhere. Everyone is happy until the bubble bursts. And now let's examine what happens there. When the bubble bursts, who is affected? That's what we need to analyze. Is it the AI companies that now own all the infrastructure, have taken giant bonuses, cashed out at the top? Like, is it the AI companies? Let's say it's not the AI companies. Their stock price might go down, but that's not going to affect them. They've already been paid. They've already cashed out. They're fine. Is it BlackRock? Is BlackRock affected? No, BlackRock's not affected because they're basically a fee-based company. So it doesn't really matter if the price goes up. Plus, they have fucking a percentage of pretty much every company in the S&P 500, so they're fine. Now let's look at the people, the pension. What happens there? Well, once the bubble bursts, the pension funds are completely and utterly decimated because most of the exposure is in AI. And so what happens then? Pension funds are destroyed. Your 401k gets fucking annihilated. And then the government steps in. And what do you think the government will do? Do you think the government is going to come in and make your pension funds whole again? No, because no one knew this bubble was going to pop. No one knew. We all used everyone's pensions because we thought it was never going to end. It was going to be great. There's going to be a bailout. There's going to be a print of epic proportions. But who is going to get bailed out? I'm guessing, I'll hesitate to guess, but I think it might be the asset managers and the banks again. I don't know. I'm open to different suggestions, but I think it might be them again. The people might get a token gesture of a few $1,000s just to keep you quiet, and then you'll also get an even greater divide between left and right. That will be pushed intensely hard. You might even get a civil war after this next bailout. But that's how wealth is transferred. They use your money, your pension funds, to inflate the AI bubbles so they can use the money to build out the AI infrastructure 20 to 30 years ahead. 20 to 30 years ahead of demand. That's what they're doing. And eventually that bubble is going to burst. And who's going to be holding the bag on that? I don't want to be. I don't know how the 401k in the US works, whether you can take control of it. I know in Australia you can have a self-managed super fund where you invest your own money. I think you can do that with your 401k as well. If you're just in a passive fucking index fund that is heavily weighted AI, I don't know. If it was me, I'd be looking into it a little bit. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's definitely going to happen. None of it makes sense. That's why Anthropic and ChatGPT and SpaceX are all coming on board now. This is the final cash out. Anyway, fucking enjoy that. That'll do for today, and I'll see you the fuck later.